Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you follow the adventure motorcycle world, you already know the sub 500cc class is incredibly crowded right now. But BMW isn't just dropping another beginner bike to replace the aging G310 GS. No way. They've built an entirely new platform from the ground up for the 2027 F450 GS. Today, we're diving straight into the radical mechanical engineering behind it, exploring how this machine completely transforms the mid-weight segment with engine and drive tech we literally never see in this category.
So let's jump right into the core challenge here. Historically, manufacturers have really struggled with this exact dilemma. How do you build a small, beginner-friendly motorcycle that doesn't just feel like a cheap compromise? The goal for BMW was to create a premium machine packed with the emotional character of a much larger bike. They needed something that satisfies A2 license holders in Europe, but also genuinely appeals to veteran riders who want to downsize from massive, heavy adventure bikes. I mean, how do you pull that off without breaking the bank or, inflating the weight? Well, the answer starts with some very specific math. BMW engineered this bike to hit the exact European A2 license legal limits, 48 horsepower and 178 kilograms. For those of us using pounds, that's right around 392 pounds fully fueled. By pushing right against that regulatory ceiling, they absolutely maximize the power-to-weight ratio. The result? A platform that's highly agile, incredibly punchy, and, get this, delivers 80% of its torque from just 3,000 RPM. It gives you a really immediate, authoritative pull right off the line. All right, section 1, the heart. Deep dive into the 135-degree crankshaft. To truly understand how they achieved that premium riding sensation, we really have to metaphorically X-ray the motorcycle and look straight into its highly unconventional engine block. You see, most parallel twins on the market use either a 180-degree or a 270-degree layout. But BMW, they opted for a really rare 135-degree offset. When you combine that physical offset with the four-stroke cycle, you get a wildly uneven firing interval. One cylinder fires, the engine rotates 225 degrees, the second fires, and then nothing. There's this massive 495-degree gap of silence before the whole cycle repeats. So why on earth would you engineer such a strange repeating pattern? Honestly, it's all about character. This specific asymmetric firing order gives that small 420cc engine a throaty, rumbly power delivery and an exhaust note that perfectly mimics a much larger, highly emotional V-twin engine. You get the compact, lightweight packaging of a straight twin engine, but it bumbles and roars just like a premium V-twin. It essentially tricks your senses into feeling like you're riding a much bigger, much more aggressive motorcycle. But, of course, there's a catch to that massive 495-degree gap. It shakes like crazy. To solve this aggressive vibration problem, BMW integrated a single, counter-rotating balance shaft. They positioned it directly in front of the crankshaft, and it's driven by a spur gear. What this does is actively absorb those primary linear vibrations. It completely tames the beast, keeping the engine exceptionally smooth through the mid-range for comfortable highway cruising. Even if, a slight buzz creeps in right near the red line, it's remarkably refined overall. Moving on to section 2, the hands and feet. Demystifying the easy ride clutch. So they absolutely nailed the engine character, but they didn't stop there. Let's look at the second radical innovation on this bike, the Easy Ride Clutch, or ERC, which comes standard on the top-spec GS Trophy variant. How does it actually work? Well, it's all about centrifugal force. When the bike idles at 1,500 RPM, the clutch is completely open. It literally will not stall. As you twist the throttle and hit 2,800 RPM, weighted ramps inside the clutch basket expand. They push the plates together and lock them up tight. From that point on, it acts exactly like a normal manual clutch. You can ride around all day and come to a complete halt without ever once touching the left lever. It's wild. Now, if you've ever ridden a scooter with a basic centrifugal clutch, you know that when you chop the throttle, the clutch opens and you just freewheel forward, which, let's be honest, is absolutely terrifying on a steep off-road descent. Anticipating the skeptics who worry about exactly this, BMW engineered the ERC to remain closed during deceleration, what engineers call overrun. The system actively drags the engine to generate vital braking torque until you almost come to a complete stop, so you still get that familiar, predictable engine braking of a traditional manual bike.
And for the expert riders out there, you don't need to panic about losing control, because the standard clutch lever hasn't disappeared. You can manually override the centrifugal system at any time. If you need to slip the clutch for traction, maybe feather it for a super tight U-turn, or pop the clutch to loft the front wheel over a log on the trail, that manual lever is right there waiting for your input, just like always.
Which brings us to Section 3, the ride. Real-world dynamics and nuance.
So we've looked at the specs, but what are the real-world trade-offs of this new technology? Out on the road, it's a stall-proof dream. It makes stop-and-go commuting an absolute breeze. But off-road experts do have to navigate a 1,300 RPM dead zone between idle and lockup. You can't just ease out the clutch at a walking pace without revving it up past 3,000 RPM first. And here's a quick heads up. Because the clutch opens when the engine is off, you actually can't leave it in gear as a parking brake. If you park it on a steep hill, it's going to roll backward. It's a brilliant system for sure, but it definitely requires a bit of unlearning for veteran riders.
Despite those little quirks, the overall package is incredibly compelling. Project manager Johan Simon hit the nail on the head when he noted that its low weight, ample torque, and exceptional smoothness make it a perfect partner. Ultimately, that immediate electric-like delivery from the 135-degree crank, paired with that clutch magic, translates into a ride that bridges the gap between single-cylinder starter bikes and the really heavy multi-cylinder titans. BMW set out to make a real GS in a much smaller package, and the hardware absolutely backs up that claim. So, I'll leave you with this final thought to ponder. As emissions regulations continue to tighten and riders increasingly demand a premium feel without the premium weight, is this the blueprint going forward? By completely rewriting the rules of the engine block and drivetrain, will BMW's 135-degree crank and ERC become the new standard for all adventure bikes? It's a fascinating shift in the industry. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and remember to keep questioning how the machines around us are built.